Story 1: The Colorado Cowboy. Okay, so the year is 2002, Colorado, United States of America, land of the free, home of the brave, and apparently home of the absolutely unhinged. Our guy is running from the police. Now, I want to pause here because this is already a red flag. If you are running from the police, things have already gone pretty badly. Like, we're already past the part where good decisions were being made. But okay, we're here. He's running. And here's where it gets special. While running, full sprint, I imagine, heart pounding, adrenaline going, he decides to pull out his gun and fire back at the officers over his shoulder. Like, just blindly, not looking, just pew, pew, pew behind him as he runs. Now, I want to give him a little credit here. That's actually kind of bold. That's main character energy. That's the kind of thing you see in a movie and you're like, wow, this guy is wild. Except in movies, the guy survives. In real life, the laws of physics are less cooperative. Because one of those shots, one of those wildly aimed over-the-shoulder while-running shots, managed to swing around and hit himself in the head. I'll give you a moment. Yeah, he shot himself while running from the cops with his own gun over his own shoulder. I genuinely cannot wrap my head around the geometry of this. Like, I've tried to visualize it. The angle, the trajectory. At what point does a bullet leave your hand going forward, somehow curve around, and come back to hit the person who fired it? I'm not a physicist, but I feel like this should not be physically possible. And yet, you know what's funny? The cops behind him probably had a moment of pure confusion. Like, did we shoot him? No. Did he stop? Sort of. Did he fall? Yes. What just happened? Nobody knows. This man was so committed to the bit that he literally took himself out before the police even had to do anything. That is, unironically, a level of efficiency I respect. The Darwin Award Committee, by the way, reportedly loved this one. Don't run from the police, and if for some reason you are running from the police, maybe just run. Don't multitask. Story 2: The Three Amigos of Bad Planning. All right, buckle up, because this next one is a group effort. 3 people, 1 plan, 0 survival rate. 2002, Mexico. 3 gentlemen decided they were going to rob an arms dealer, a person whose entire business is guns, a person who is professionally surrounded by firearms. And their plan, their master plan, their carefully crafted strategy was to walk in with a can of pepper spray and a baseball bat. I'm going to let that sink in. Pepper spray and a baseball bat against a guy who sells weapons for a living. This is like deciding you're going to challenge a professional boxer and your training is, I once watched Rocky on TV. Or deciding you're going to outcook Gordon Ramsay with a microwave. The vibes are off. The matchup is catastrophically misaligned. Now look, I've never robbed anyone and I don't intend to start, but even I know that if you're going to walk into a place that has guns, you probably want a gun, maybe, as a baseline? These 3 gentlemen did not have a gun. They had a bat and a spray can. And the arms dealer, shockingly, did not respond well to being pepper sprayed and threatened with a bat. He responded the way a man who has access to an entire inventory of weapons would respond. All 3 of them did not make it out. Now here's the thing. Individually, any one of these guys could have maybe had a chance if his friends had better ideas. But together, they formed a committee. And committees, as we all know, do not produce good decisions. Committees produce compromises. And the compromise here was, okay, none of us have a gun, but what if we had pepper spray and a bat? That's basically 2 things. It is not basically two things. It is two very inadequate things. This is a masterclass in what strategists call asymmetric disadvantage, which is a fancy way of saying you brought way less to the table than the other guy and are now suffering the consequences. You know what I find most fascinating here? Not the plan itself, the fact that 3 people agreed on this plan. Like in the planning phase, not one of them said, "Hey, wait, he sells guns. We have a bat." Somewhere in that conversation there was group consensus, enthusiasm even. Yeah, the bat and the spray, let's go. That's not a robbery, that's a field trip that went wrong. Darwin Award? Yes, absolutely yes. 3 of them. Story 3. The world's most distracted terrorist. Okay, this one. Jordan. We have a man who has, and I want to be diplomatic here, extremely bad intentions. He plants a bomb in a movie theater, an adult movie theater, and he sets a timer. And then, I don't know if it was curiosity or dedication to the cover story or just impeccable timing, he decides to watch the movie while waiting to leave. And he got really into it. He got so into the movie that he lost track of time. He just completely forgot. In the back of his brain somewhere, there was a reminder going off. Hey buddy, bomb, timer, we gotta go. And his brain just went, shh, not now. This is getting good. The bomb went off, with him in the building. Now, I want to be clear, this man had genuinely terrible intentions, and the world is arguably a better place. But from a purely human standpoint, as a person who has also been distracted by a movie before, I understand the psychological mechanism here, even if the context is absolutely unhinged. We've all been there. You're watching something and you tell yourself, okay, after this scene, I'll get up. And then the scene ends and the next one starts and you're like, okay, this scene and then I go. And suddenly it's been 3 hours and you haven't moved. I have personally been late to multiple important events because of Netflix. I relate to the mechanism here, not the bomb, just the getting distracted by the screen part. The bomb part is wild. The truly poetic thing here is the location, an adult movie theater, which means this man was simultaneously A, a terrorist, B, very easily distracted, and C, watching something he probably should not have been watching in the context of his mission. The multitasking failures here are just staggering. There's a word for this kind of situation, and it's called poetic justice. When the thing you were trying to use as a weapon somehow comes back and gets you because you were too distracted by your own plan to execute it properly, that's the universe having a very specific sense of humor. Darwin Award delivered with extreme enthusiasm. And somewhere in a different timeline, a movie critic's review just says, riveting. Absolutely riveting. Could not leave. Story 4. The Ukrainian fisherman who forgot one step. All right, we're going to slow down for a second and appreciate the elegance of this next one. Ukraine. Date unknown, but that almost doesn't matter. Our man is a poacher, meaning he's fishing illegally, and he has decided that regular fishing is for people who have patience, and he does not have patience. So he comes up with a plan, a big brain plan. He's going to take an electrical cable, hook it up to a power source, throw it in the river, and electrocute the fish. They float to the top, he collects them, done. Easy, efficient, incredibly illegal, but very efficient. Now, electrofishing is actually a real thing. Scientists use it, conservation workers use it. It's a legitimate technique. The difference is that scientists have safety protocols. They wear rubber boots. They have controlled equipment. They know what they're doing. Our guy, he just had a cable and a dream. He throws the cable in the water. Fish start floating to the surface. Beautiful. The plan is working. He's a genius. He's going to have the best fish dinner of his life. He puts on his boots, or maybe doesn't even bother with boots, we don't know, and he walks into the river to collect his fish. He forgot to turn off the power. Now, I am not an electrician. I passed high school physics barely, but even I know that water conducts electricity. That's like foundational knowledge. That's something you learn early. Don't touch the electrical thing when it's wet. That's lesson 1. He forgot lesson 1. The current that was just moments ago doing a great job knocking out fish, it now had a much larger target to work with. A human-sized target, standing in the water, holding a bag, ready to collect fish. And here's the most heartbreaking part. He was so close. The plan had actually worked. The fish were there, floating. His dinner was right there. He just forgot the one step between throw cable in water and collect fish. That step being disconnect the power. This is like baking a cake, doing everything perfectly, putting it in the oven, and then when you take it out, you grab it with your bare hands from the oven and burn yourself. The cake was right there. You were so close. Darwin Award, yes, but honestly, respect for the ingenuity, even if the execution had one fatal flaw. The lesson here, and I cannot stress this enough, is make a checklist. A simple checklist. Step 1, throw cable. Step 2, turn off power. Step 3, collect fish. Step 2 is doing a lot of work in that list, and it was skipped. Story 5. The Swiss Lieutenant versus Basic Military Logic. And finally, we arrive at my personal favorite, the one that makes me simultaneously laugh and develop a stress headache. Switzerland, a military exercise. A lieutenant, meaning this is not a new recruit. This is someone who has been in the military long enough to be put in charge of people, decides he is going to demonstrate a bayonet charge to his troops. For context, a bayonet is a knife that attaches to the end of a gun. It's a melee weapon. It was very useful in the 1800s. We are not in the 1800s. The soldier he chooses to demonstrate this on is armed with a fully automatic rifle. Let me paint this picture for you. On one side, a lieutenant with a knife on a stick running forward. On the other side, a soldier with a weapon that fires hundreds of rounds per minute, looking confused and increasingly concerned. The lieutenant charged. The soldier, presumably thinking, "I genuinely cannot believe this is happening," fired. The lieutenant received a bullet. And then, and this is the part that makes this legendary, he received a Darwin Award. I want to zoom in on the decision-making process here, because there are several points where this goes wrong, and each one is a gift. First, someone decided this demonstration was a good training exercise. Who? The lieutenant himself. He planned this. Second, when he was looking for a soldier to demonstrate on, he chose someone who was already holding an automatic weapon. He could have asked someone to put the gun down first. He did not. Third, when he began his charge, the soldier with the gun was presumably right there, in front of him, gun raised, and the lieutenant thought, "You know what? I'm committed to the bit." There's something almost admirable about the commitment to the demonstration, like he really believed in experiential learning. He was willing to put himself on the line, literally, to make a training point. The point he made, however, was not the one he intended. The point he made was, do not charge at someone with a knife when they have a machine gun. That is a lesson the troops definitely learned that day, just not in the way the lesson was planned. What I find truly incredible is that Switzerland is not exactly a country known for dramatic military confrontations. They're known for being neutral, for watches, for chocolate, and yet somehow they produced this moment. Darwin Award? Unanimous, standing ovation from the committee.